Institute, India. His area of expertise includes development and conduction of research in the area of air pollution and health risk assessment. During his career, he has worked in various prestigious organizations such as US EPA, IIT Roorkee, Wildlife Institute of India, and Zoological Survey of India. We welcome you both, sir. Now, without taking much of your time, let us begin our webinar. Let us know about COVID-19, why it is a wake-up call for our environment, and what we need to understand and apply. Let us begin the session by briefing about the topic and setting the platform for discussion. Let us rewind ourselves and go back to the pre-COVID time, life before Corona, how it was. With rapid industrialization and human activity and globalization, mankind has enabled technological and scientific progress to eradicate diseases, helped increase life expectancy, reduce starvation and extreme poverty, revolutionized transportation and communication, explored other worlds in the universe, and made this generation the most successful one in the history. But I would like to ask a question here. Do you realize at what cost? पर technological developments करते जा रहे हैं. Yes, you are right. At the cost of nothing but environment. As we can see these alarming pictures, the increase in the amount of greenhouse gases emission, carbon dioxide, fossil fuels, and industrialization and human activity. All this has resulted in increasing temperature of the earth, global warming, climate change, deforestation, mass extinction, pollution everywhere. These sites are not only few, but are very common, especially in developing country like India. The effect that human activity have caused to the environment, yes, we all know that. But do we understand how bad it is for the environment? Okay, we all know that. But then this had to happen. A lot of time nature has given us so many warnings and signals. WHO has given us alarming calls. Wake up. This is not going to be easy. This is not going to be easy, and we have to face severe consequences. So, as we all know that, in December 2019, Corona happened. The world was hit by COVID-19, and its first case was identified in December 2019 in China. And today, 4.37 million deaths, 4.37 million cases have been reported, and more than 2,97,000 deaths. More than 1.56 million people have been recovered. Don't you think, guys, this pandemic just look like any science fiction movie? Virtually bringing the world slowly down to its knees? The fallout is impacting every aspect of our life. Social, economical, and financial. And yes, nobody is spared, be it rich or poor, developed or underdeveloped. We all are down under our knees due to COVID-19. And now we are just questioning nature. We are just questioning COVID, why it happened. Don't we realize what we have done? It's coming back to us. Everything in the world is round, and what we have faced now is the consequences of what we have already done to Earth. As WHO declared pandemic on 11th March 2020, nations stopped, and thus emerged the coronavirus recession, and we know as Great Lockdown. Lockdown was announced as a preventive measure to stop the spread of virus, and has resulted in severe economic crisis, severe economic loss, stock market loss, stock market crash, oil prices to be triggering very low, collapsing tourism industry, thus adding nothing but to the more numbers of hunger and poverty. We were already dealing with these two bigger problems, and COVID has done nothing but to add to the numbers here. But guys, while we all were facing this huge economic financial loss due to COVID, one thing we realize here is there was one thing that was constantly improving, and there was one thing that COVID had a positive impact on. Yes, we are talking about environment here. And we cannot deny the fact that how planet Earth is self-healing, naturally healing herself. Let us look at the global picture of environment right now. The empty roads, the empty malls, the empty airport, everything has been closed down. And then we can see the global emissions to be fallen down. We have 25% global greenhouse gases emission reduced. Coal reduction has fallen down. And satellite images over the northern Italy showed that NOx emission have considerably declined. Thus, we can see the clear sky, the clear water. What 30 years of research scientists couldn't do to Ganga River, and today the Ganga River is exactly clean as the drinking water, and the Venice River. Yes, we all have seen these news reports. But do we realize how could this have happened? Lockdown has favored Mother Earth. These pictures are clearly showing this. The wildlife reclaiming its habitat. The Earth system scientists estimate that this reduction may have saved at least 77,000 lives. Now the big question here is this all permanent? What about the day after? As soon as the lockdown will be over and we'll back to our business, because we have had huge economic loss, the industries, the transportation, everything will be back to its business. And then what will happen? Yes, so to answer this topic, we have the expert here. We have Dr. Ajay Nagpure with us, who will give us some more insights onto this topic.
Thank you, Sudipti, for such a nice introduction and data about the current pandemic. Okay, so should I?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll share my screen. Okay. So I just wanted to echo what Sudipti has mentioned about this current pandemic. So we all are struggling in a different ways. And I feel that this is not for a human being, as Sudipti said, that it's a wake-up call from Mother Earth to us, and that we need to learn a lot of things from this pandemic and this health crisis. And it's not only health crisis, as Sudipti has mentioned, like now, economy and other different variables of human ecosystem are getting affected by this pandemic. And these are the number, these are the yesterday night's number. You know that currently I think about 45 lakhs people are affected by this coronavirus, and out of this 45 lakh, 3 lakh people are died prematurely. And there is a good news also, about 17 lakh has recovered. So, but this is not the time to celebrate or something like that, to celebrate whether it's an environmental benefit or something else, something like that. But what we can say that the Earth is giving us an opportunity to learn and to see that how we can manage our future. I think that this is the best opportunity which God has given to us. That because from I would say that last century, one century, we are doing a lot to the Mother Earth, like in terms of the water pollution, solid waste, and many other things. And now, this time, Mother Earth has given us a wake-up call. So just you need to do something for me, otherwise you would face a similar kind of problem in the future. So I think there are different aspects of the environment which we generally talks, whether it's air pollution, water pollution, municipal solid waste, soil, and many other variables. So all these are getting affected by this COVID-19 episode, and that's quite natural. It's not like we have not done anything for this the positive impact on these environmental variables. And I feel that we should not celebrate it, but I think this is the learning opportunity. This information which we can use in the future. For example, I'm telling you that I was talking to one of my colleague, I think a few days back, and as Sadhiti mentioned that the Ganga has cleaned or whether Yamuna has cleaned. Yes, that there is some effect, but I think there were a lot of money we were spending on this, analyzing the contribution of different sources for the water pollution. And now I think if we can analyze the current data about the sewage or other contributor to the water, we would be able to better understand what are the major contributor to the water pollution. Similarly, for the air pollution, this is the time when we are going to understand which are the major factors contributing to the air pollution. Because generally people are telling that biomass burning, agriculture, crop burning, transportation, and other things are contributing to the air pollution. But this time, if air is improved in a certain location, and there are some sources, then we can easily understand that these are the sources which are contributing significantly to the air pollution. So I would like to talk about this both positive and negative impact of the COVID-19 on the air pollution. And people will think about that. What would be the negative impact? We have seen this blue sky and air quality has improved, but is there any, so why you are talking about the negative impact? There is a negative impact which nobody is talking about, which I'm going to talk today. Like how this pandemic is increasing the exposure level to the certain population. That is very important. So first I would start with, as Sudipti has already showed in her slides. So this is the India Gate, and this is I think the last winter picture, and this is like last, I think recent picture, and you can clearly see the sky, the blue sky, which we were, I think we were thinking to, achieve this kind of goal from last many years, but we were not able to do that. But if Earth wants, if nature wants, I think it can do within a week and within a month, and we have an example. So firstly, I think why air pollution is important. Why it is important to learn from COVID-19 the impact of air pollution, what are the contributors to the air pollution, and why should we care about the air pollution, and what we can learn about the air pollution. So for all these questions, first we need to understand why air pollution is important. So for all of you, I think many of you are aware about that air pollution is contributing about 12 lakh premature death every year. Premature means people die before their natural deaths. So every year, about more than 12 lakh people are dying prematurely in India. That is very, very alarming numbers. It is the third largest cause of premature mortality after dietary risk and high blood pressure. So I think when we talk about this air pollution air quality has improved. Yes, it has improved, but why? It's natural, because it is going to be improved, because many studies previously, many studies have already showed that these are I think the vehicles so vehicles, industries, biomass for cooking, industry, power plants, road dust. These are the major contributor for the PM 2.5. And because from last more than 1 month, we are in halt. Every activities, most of our human activities in a halt. So you can easily understand that. I think this is the validation of the most of the scientific study of the which we have done during past years, because what we were showing that was right, and now all this activity has stopped. That's what we are having this clear sky. So it is quite natural, but now it's time to understand that what could be the major contributor. If we can analyze the current data, for example, the air quality has improved in a certain location, whether it's a city or rural area or the urban area. And I think many times study says that the transportation is the biggest contributor, and sometimes industry are the biggest contributor. But what we can learn from this episode, we can first identify the activities which is currently running in the cities and the other part of the country. And we can see that how the air quality has improved. For example, as Sudhasi was talking about this NOx emissions in Italy, NOx emissions, and this is the NOx emission map for the India, and this is the January to March 2019 map, 25 March to 28 April 2019 map, 1 January to 24th March, and 25th March to 28th April. It shows the NOx map of India. So now I think, that this is the area where you still showing having the NOx, and this is the area where India, we have a lot of mining and thermal power plants. So this shows that the thermal power plants are contributing much amount of NOx. And if you see these maps, you can see that because this is the belt which is we have the highest population density, and which is the industrial area, as well as the most of the transportation activities are happening here. So we can see that the transportation is the one of the contributor. So what I feel that as an air pollution scientist, I feel that we need to collect these data, and that would be very useful to understand the sources of the air pollution and to formulate the future better policies. Because in India, we are losing lots of money on these studies to identify the sources of the air pollution, to develop the mitigation strategies. And I think this COVID-19 has given us this opportunity to understand the different sources of air pollution. For example, I think one of the studies says that in India, the biomass burning is contributing to the about 40 to 50% of the air pollution in all over in pan-India's condition, when we talk about the whole India. So if there would be a large decrease in the rural area where there is no other sources available, and people are still using biomass to show that their biomass is a air pollution, one of the major air pollution sources, but it is not contributing significantly to that area. It means we are not accounting certain kind of sources. So that is the information which we can get it from this kind of episode. So I feel that the air pollution, air quality improvement, it's good for us, but it's not time to celebrate this thing, but we can definitely learn for the future. Second thing is that I think, that in the beginning, I talked about that how this, because, people are saying that the air pollution, air quality has improved, and many people are, I think, enjoying and celebrating that. They're posting the blue sky pictures. That is true. But it is not a condition for, it is not a situation for everyone. That in India, many people still use biomass for the cooking fuel. So I think according to the recent National Sample Survey data, 87% of the urban population and 48% of the rural population uses LPG as a primary fuel. Means 9% in urban area and 50% in the rural area uses biomass, or the dirty fuel that is called biomass, that's firewood, cow dung, crop residue. They are using it for the cooking. And out of the LPG users, there are many users, they are using biomass as a secondary cooking fuel, like for water heating or some other activities. It means there are a lot of people still uses biomass for the cooking. And the air pollution, the air quality level in their household, it's almost very high. This is the map. It shows that the black one shows 800 microgram, and this is 100 microgram. So this is the map from one of the study. It shows the indoor air pollution concentration in the household, which are using biomass as a cooking fuel. So what is happening? From last 1 or 2 months, these low income people are in their household, and they are exposed to this level of the concentration. So would you say that this air quality has improved? Air quality has improved for the outdoor air pollution or the people with high income categories. But for the low income category, the situation is almost same, or I think worst. Because before the COVID-19, people were spending about 20 to 30% of their time outdoor, in the outdoor environment. Now, because of these restrictions, they have to spend their time in indoor environment, where the air quality level or the indoor air quality level is very dangerous. So for the certain category of the population, this COVID-19, this especially in terms of the air pollution, is very bad. So if there is any asthmatic patient or the children or the old age people, now they have to suffer more polluted air. So there would be a increase in the premature mortalities related to indoor pollution. This is the I would say that it's the I think the one of the negative thing for the I think this indoor air pollution. And what is I think after this, what is going to happen? Because you know that there would be a chance that because after that, after COVID-19 episode, the government is trying to boost its economy, and there would be a some I think in terms of this I think everybody wants to reuse, and so I feel that because of the more activities and more movement, there would be I think this is my assumption. I would not say that this is I'm 100% sure, but it needs a better study. But I feel that after this COVID-19 episode, there would be a chance of increment in the emissions because of the more activities, but I'm not sure. So with this slide, I would say, I would stop and I would say that air quality has improved for the rich people during COVID-19, for the low income people who are the users of this piloting fuel. For them, air quality is almost same. So with this, I would stop. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ajay. Dr. Nagpuri has given us such a wonderful insight. It was really a thought-provoking session because when we talk about air pollution, we always talk about outdoor air pollution, and we tend to forget generally the indoor air pollution. And yes, definitely, as we are in the lockdown, we are just talking and observing the images about the pictures that clearly show the outdoor. But what about the indoor? Indeed, it was a thought-provoking, and I'm sure towards the end of the webinar, Dr. Nagpure will be here with us and will give us the solutions, how we can cope up with the same. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So continuing with the webinar, yeah. So we have Dr. Ajay Kalamdad with us now. So sir is a professor in IIT Guwahati, and now we are going to take this webinar towards the second part of the most important topic. And as you can see from these images, we all know that the healthcare workers, the laboratory personals, doctors, everybody is working day and night today to save us from corona, to prevent from this disease to spread. And in a way, they all are protecting themselves, as you can see, through these PPE kits. Have you ever thought about the amount of plastic waste that has been generated in this? So the mask, the PPE kits, and all these disposable items, where will it ultimately lead to? Considering India's municipal solid waste management system is itself a big challenge. And on top of it, the biomedical waste generated, it will ultimately lead to the landfill, where already there is a lot of waste and very less land. So to have more insight into this topic about the solid waste management part of COVID-19, we have Dr. Ajay Kalamdad with us. We welcome you, sir, and we would request you to share more insights into this topic. Thank you so much.
So, hello. Yeah, thank you, Sudipti, for calling for this webinar. And then good to have such kind of discussion in this pandemic, because most of the people are worried about to stay at home. Even my students are asking to, sir, when we can join the institute, because nobody wants to stay at home without any work. But I think still we're worried about the what is happening in India right now. Uh, I don't say I'm somewhat in a happier way, because I'm working in solid waste. So if you read some of the recent newspaper, I'm not sharing any slides and all, but I'm just sharing some of the my views and what exactly is happening in the solid waste management. Now here we need to understand that uh, uh, we have different kind of waste sources. I think we have to talk on two different ways. One is MSW, that is municipal solid waste, which is containing mostly the residential and commercial waste. Another waste that we need to be separate out, that biomedical waste. And for the both kind of waste, there are different rules and regulation is available in India. The good thing is under during this COVID-19 pandemic, the our domestic waste like residential commercial waste completely reduced down, and there are number of newspaper reports also is coming up, like in Ahmedabad, even in the Jaipur and other cities, the waste reduction is up to 50%. Like if you take the example of Ahmedabad, which normally used to produce per day production is 2000 tons per day waste generation, MSW generation, now it reduced to be 1000 only. That is one of the good thing, that waste generation has been reduced down. But the other way, the collection also is now very poor in India, because the 100% manpower is not working. Very few, maybe 50 to 60% manpower is put it for the waste collection also. That I think is good that our waste collection guys still during this corona pandemic, they are coming to your home and collecting the waste. They are not coming to your house, but at least they are coming to your out to your apartment and collecting the waste. We need to be really, I think, need to remember them during this corona pandemic. These people are still there coming and collecting the waste. So need to be understand that the waste generation has been reduced down. Obviously, commercial shops and other facilities has been locked down. So obviously, your purchase also has been reduced down. So obviously the waste also has been reduced down, uh, and along with the even food purchase also has been reduced down now. So the both kind of waste, whether it's a dry waste or wet waste, both has been reduced down. And the problem is that in the recent year, from last 4 to 5 years, we're more worried about the packaging waste. The way we're increasing the online purchase, and you see that in the online purchase, a small item is packet, the you see the packet of that small item, the lot of plastic and paper, especially paper and plastic, is coming with this packaging material, and that percentage has been reduced, increasing to the 10 to 15%. That is the major worried point about MSW. We never used to study earlier days, like before 10 years or 15 years, the packaging material. And because of that, our paper and plastic percentage also has been reduced down. But because of this COVID-19 pandemic, these kind of waste has been completely reduced down. So that the total quantity also has been reduced down. But other way, the problem is the biomedical waste. Now, currently, India is producing around 600 tons biomedical waste per day. But the problem is that we do not have that many incineration facility. In India, we have 750 districts and only 200 incineration facilities. So that kind of, I think, more, and only the biomedical waste, only 10 to 15% is only the problematic waste. That need to be go to the incineration facility. Now the problem is that because of this corona, lot of PPE kits are getting produced now, and along with that, lot of mask and hand gloves also is getting produced. But I think NGT has done very good thing. NGT, National Green Tribunal, already talked to the CPCB, and CPCB come up with the new guidelines in March 2020, what to do, how to collect that. And CPCB has already given the information to the every state, every district, in the quarantine areas or red zones area, especially the collection system should be there. This all PPE kits or masks, gloves has to be collected separately, and the transportation vehicle has to be properly has to be named as corona waste, corona 19 kind of waste. they are already given, and most of the cities have already started the separate collection system. But the problem is that I think still we do not have proper reports with us whether this kind of waste is going to the incineration facility. Because and first I think incineration, this has to be first pathogen has to be removed out properly, then only it goes to the incineration facility. I'll give one example about, because I'm locating in the northeast. In entire 8 states we have only one incineration facility which can collect maybe maximum 2 to 3 big hospitals from the Guwahati city. So you can understand that there we have number of corona hospitals in the northeast, but do you think that all kind of waste will go to the same incineration facility? That is the worried point. And as I shared that 200 only the facilities are available. So and the quantity is also increasing. Now some of the data shows that per day biomedical waste is producing around 2 tons per state. So you can say that now it has been increased. So around 60 to 70 tons of special kind of waste is getting collected, getting produced during this corona pandemic. So now is obviously has to be proper collection system, proper disposal system. Now my worried point actually, during the corona pandemic, it is possible that because we have few only red zones or quarantine area also is there, so we can easily collect the waste by putting some kind of manpower. But the problem is that the mask and other hand gloves is using by the local people, but household people, this all will go through the MSW facility. This should not be happen. But now I think once the COVID will also get over down, lockdown will get over down. So these kind of waste unnecessarily will added into the MSW facilities. That is the major worried point. And I am really worried about I think most of the city, because we do not have proper space, we do not have treatment facility in most of our disposal sites. If such kind of waste, and this is the major percentage of this is a plastic one, and we know that in India segregation is one of the important uh, issue. But I think most of the city do not have the facility of segregation. And now such kind of waste, once it enter to the MSW facility, now you'll understand that because it's a highly volume is coming into such kind of waste. And where I think I'll see that after lockdown, once I'll visit the dump site, I'll see the lot of plastic waste, which is especially these kind of mask and hand gloves. I don't think so PPE or the PPE kits or those will come to the disposal site. That should go to the special facility for incineration facility. But I think we need to really worried about after lockdown period, uh, because now one more thing, that because our collection is not 100% right now, means I think lot of waste is still inside the city. So once the lockdown will get over, I think within that first week, I think need to be see that the first week of the after the week, lockdown, we'll have major issue about the waste collection, because the local authority has to put a lot of manpower to collect such kind of waste which has not collected during the lockdown period. So that could be the very important time for the solid waste management. And I currently now see already the our composting plants are not running properly. Treatment facility are not running. Even recycling facilities are not running right now. Now a lot of pressure will come up onto those kind of facilities, because lot of, and problem is that the material also won't be get segregated. And I think that could be a major problem after the lockdown issue. But I think I am somewhat happy in the lockdown period by reading some of the newspaper that the city has been reduced completely the waste generation. And I think here this COVID is asking us uh, use the less items for the food, even for your online purchasing, try to reduce the online purchasing. But now mostly people are going for online purchasing. A lot of packaging materials are coming with this kind of material, and a lot of plastics are coming in this kind of form. So I think let's see that after lockdown, if people are ready to use less items, for not only for the food materials, for the other commercial products, I think that will be good for our solid waste management facilities. Yeah, that is what from my side. Yeah, thank you. Maybe we can get some question answers.
Yeah. So thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful talk. And yes, we cannot deny the fact that municipal solid waste have been a problem of concern even from last decades. And now biomedical waste adding to the municipal solid will definitely add up to the problem. And one thing that we are really worried is about the health workers. So they are the formal and informal health workers, and they are at a great risk without knowing the fact that they have to deal with the infectious waste also. So this thing is really worrisome. And I'm sure as an individual, we can do is we should now, it's time that we should start source segregation from our side as an individual. And as a organization, I think we need to really go into. So such sessions are really helpful for us to enhance our knowledge. So thank you so much, sir.
Yeah,
so moving ahead with our next topic of another important topic that we are going to cover in this webinar. And we cannot forget that very important topic is about water. Yes. So water, we know that providing safe water, a clean water is the most essential step right now to prevent ourselves from COVID. And WHO has declared that hand washing at least 10 times a day for minimum 20 seconds can prevent us from prevention of this coronavirus. But do we realize the fact that even today in the rural household, people are not equipped with the proper clean water supply. People still lack the clean water. So how can we consider this thing to be prevalent? Moreover, considering the water crisis, we were before Corona also, we were suffering from the COVID, the waterborne diseases like diarrhea, typhoid, and with Corona adding more burden to the water crisis problem. Also, I would like to share some more insights into this. As per WHO, hand washing for 20 seconds would require 0.5 to 2 liters of water per person. And do we know the total amount of water that would be required by one person would be around 100 liters per day. This amount of water, even if we keep the taps off, would generate enormous amount of water. And do we know where does all this water go? This all water goes to our sewage treatment plants and then it gets treated. But fortunately or unfortunately, we just have 35 to 40% of the capacity of sewage treatment plant. India still lacks this facility of treating water. And so this whole water, untreated water, goes to the natural water bodies. And thus it results into water pollution. So here what I'm trying to say is we are trying to discuss three important things here. One thing is the water crisis. We are already in the arena of water crisis where we lack basic hygiene facilities, basic sanitation facilities. Still, we cannot say the entire India is open defecation free. So one trouble we are facing is about the water crisis. And next thing is we have to have proper wastewater treatment. Otherwise, there would be a danger because this amount of water, if we get waste, will add on to water crisis and water pollution as well. Another important aspect here is recently, some of the reports have published the presence of COVID-19 RNA samples in sewage and fecal matter. And yes, this is a threat for us because as a water scientist, as a water researcher, I do understand that we are still not sure about the infectivity or virulence of this virus. But yes, if at all this is present, this can be a huge concern for us because water is something that we rely on these days. And if we know that the tap water that we are getting is polluted, we just cannot think of such situation. So uh, uh, concluding everything we have talked about on the air, we have talked about the solid waste problem and the water problem. We know now, let us come up to the solution. What is the solution? So, do we realize that COVID-19 can be a nature's wake-up call to humankind? In reality, as a water expert and as an environmental expert, I would like to point out one point here. Do we understand the basic principles of sustainability? Sustainability is the balance between development, environment, and the community that we live in. We just cannot say that it forces us to go a level beyond, even at the cost of environment. No, it does not favor that. So maybe this crisis is now showing us how we should correct ourselves. It's high time we should correct ourselves. It's high time we should switch to the solution. And one thing that we as a scientist believe, that biotechnology has a solution to this problem. We are getting a lot of Q&A from you guys that what is the solution. So here we will discuss about few solutions. And if you guys have some more questions to all the three problems that we just addressed here, you can post those questions in our Q&A box. So talking about the solution, we must not ignore biotechnology. Biotechnology, ultimately, this superior technology will also find a vaccine to neutralize the coronavirus. Yes, one day the vaccine will be there, leaving behind this pandemic. And then we all will adapt ourselves to live with this virus. Also, we should make sure that we should now adopt the natural biotechnological solutions for everything. For example, we have already heard the term biofertilizers, biopesticides, biofuels, bioplastics. We all know about all this. So biotechnology is the solution. And to cover more on this, we can have Dr. Ajay Nagpure sir, and he'll give us some more insights on the topic biofuels. How we can switch on to biofuels to as a solution to these problems that we just discussed.
I think this air pollution is the one of the, as I already mentioned that I think air pollution is the third largest cause of premature mortalities. And other than air pollution, we are also struggling with the energy. So I think this biofuel, bioenergy would be the I think the one of the good options that which we can use in future, especially for because nowadays we are talking about this electric mobility and other renewable sources. But and among these sources, I think bioenergy is also another important source which we can think about in a way. So, but I feel that in India we need to have I think a proper studies. I feel that certain kind of knowledge gave in this area, especially when we talk about this, because nowadays people are talking about the electric mobility for this air pollution thing, but I think very less people are talking about this biofuel. So I think that we need to have a proper study in Indian context, because because when people are moving from the traditional crops to the bioenergy, what would be the benefit in terms of the income? Because anyway, this is going to provide income also to the farmers, and how we can utilize. I think this would provide a multiple co-benefit to the people. Farmer would also get the income on, and also that there would be less air pollution. But I think this area needs the I think proper research. That's what my understanding is.
Definitely, sir. I think the first most thing that we can do is to change our lifestyle to adapt to the basic needs of sustainability. We should adopt to minimalistic living, and thus we should also adopt some of the organic means, the biofuels and maybe bioplastics that we have heard. So I would like to ask Dr. Ajay Kalamdar, sir, we have recently heard about the term bioplastics. So can we replace these kind of plastic mask and disposable things with bioplastic? Is this actually, can it be a reality? I request Dr. Ajay Kalam, the bioplastics. I think there's some problem in the internet connection. So because recently we have studied a lot on this, that there is some term called as bioplastic. So maybe that can be the future. And also so talking about the solutions, we can just say that we should adopt the minimalistic living. We should, it's time that we should start practicing sustainability. And the takeaway message that we can conclude over this webinar is that as an individual, we all should promote sustainability. We all should ensure that there is no wastage at the individual level. Proper source segregation is very important. We should follow the 5R: refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and report. Report means composting. We have already been doing composting of our municipal solid waste since years, since Charles Darwin. But yes, now there is a time we should adopt this thing. We should adopt minimalism. We should produce, we should consume less. So in a way, we will produce less, and that will lead to the sustainable development. Recycling is a very important option. And ultimately, we should follow 3 Ps: plan, practice, and preach. These all things, if we can do as an individual level, it will be a great message for the environment and to the nature. In a way, we will be able to answer this nature call. As an institution, we should focus on collaborations and tie-ups with multiple stakeholders, providing innovative solutions. R&D and innovation will always be the driving force, and in practice to provide more solutions. And then the awareness campaigns. At every step, we should aware people so that they can, we should aware people about the sustainable development goals. So COVID crisis is clearly providing an opportunity for us to change. But the $1 million question arises here: are we prepared to change? With this, we have just covered the insights about this webinar. I would just like to update you guys that we are also streaming live on Facebook, and this we have a recording version of the entire webinar. So if you have missed something, or if you want to watch it again, we'll send you, to all the participants, the complete recording of this webinar. Also, we have got a lot of several Q&A in our chat box, and we think if we have some time, yes, definitely we'll be able to answer few of the questions. We have the experts also here. So we just got one question.
Can I share something?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just linked now. So
yes, sir.
Can I just take 1 minute?
Yes, sir. Sure.
I just want to share about something about bioplastic. Yeah. So actually, you were also asking to talk about bioplastic.
Yes, sir.
Now is a good alternate. I think there are a lot of reports are coming that this bioplastic can be converted, can be one of the alternate for the plastic. This bioplastic is nothing but a polylactic acid. I think we are also doing some study at IIT Guwahati. This PLA, actually the production is another one problem, that from which particular biological material it is getting produced. Can it possible in India that corn or sugarcane can be used for the bioplastic preparation? One thing, that whether this PLA will get degrade very easily. And I think there are some of the reports are coming from the US that these bioplastic can be degraded in industrial composting facility. But this is not true. This is not true. We did some experiments in the IIT Guwahati, in our polymer. We have one polymer group where we are trying to degrade the polymer. I think this bioplastic degradation, we required proper temperature as well as proper microism. And we tried to degrade during the composting process. We need proper temperature like 55-degree temperature to degrade. And the normal degradation take 150 to 160 days. But along with the composting facility, it can degrade maybe in say 60 to 70 days. But problem is that in India, our composting plant never thought about the temperature. We never knew, never heard of that in India. Some of the compost plant is
It's not network connection. think we lost connection.
whether those compost plants will run in India. Yeah, that is what I want to share. And there are some, I think, paper we published in some of the top journals where we try to degrade these biopolymer as early as possible. That is what I think current research is doing in the India. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, we have one question from Dr. Nagpure. So the question is that what strategies to be adopted in future so that improvements in the environment can be made and we do not revert back to the original situations?
I think the first thing.
So Ajay.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes, sir. So I think we can learn from this because that India people are investing a lot of money to identify the sources at the different level. I think whether it's urban level or rural level. And now this COVID-19, this lockdown has provided this. I think if we can utilize this information, whether like as I said that if in a rural area if there is a reduction in air pollution, so it means that biomass burning is not contributing that much, which we were expecting. There are other sources which we are not accounting. For example, unorganized commercial sector and like that. So these kind of data we are getting from this at a proxy level. So as a developing nation, we are getting a lot of information if we can utilize it properly. So definitely we can do something. Also, I think this providing another opportunity. For example, if we can see the industrial production in terms of this I think because a lot of people are working from home. And if we can see that the industrial production of the different industry, which for example, the software, if they are all producing their output is almost similar to the before COVID lockdown output, then we can ask them to just I think they reduce the transportation and work from the home. So this would certainly provide this one another aspect, like there are some industry which do not need a particular office. They can work from home. It is going to reduce the travel and other things. So these types of things we can learn from this. Also, we can also define that because that many cities are, I think from like Dehradun and Saharanpur, we can visibly see that Himalayan mountains. So I think we need to define the threshold limit of each city and each area by considering the sources. And after that, we need to, I think as an authority need to understand that these are the activity which we can allow in this area if we want to have a better air quality. So this is the thing which we are getting from this episode.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So we got just one question from another participant that COVID-19 can spread through drinking water. So I would like to answer that question that fortunately there are no reports, no research studies stating that. But yes, recently, last month only, we got few research papers stating that COVID-19 RNA was found in sewage. So probably the route may be through the fecal matter. As we know that coronavirus, the RNA, which affects the human GI tract, and through that, from the gut, it then passes to the fecal matter, and from that, it can come towards sewage. But as of now, there are no reports for the drinking water. But the main concern is that in India, because the sewerage network system and the water distribution network is not that properly designed. It's very poorly designed, we can say, and thus there can be chances of cross-contamination. So definitely it needs more research to just confirm everything. But yes, we have to be very careful of each and everything here. Thank you. And also one question we have for Dr. Ajay Kalamdar. Sir, there is this question. Can we have a small incinerator which can generate energy by burning waste?
Yeah, 1 second. This small incineration facility.
Yeah, so can we have a small incinerator at institutional campuses that can generate energy by burning waste?
No, currently the solid waste management rule clearly suggested that none of the corporation should have the incineration facility without having the calorific value more than 14,050 kilocalorie per kg, and the quantity should be more than 300 tons per day. so that so in small campuses it is not possible to run. We can have only combustion facility, not waste to energy facility in institution level. Because to produce the energy out of that, we need the quantity minimum at 300 tons per day. Then only we'll be able to produce energy out of that. Otherwise, the small quantity is not possible to produce energy.
Yes, sir. So I think we have answered quite a lot of questions, and we can still answer more because we got them in our Q&A, and we'll definitely try to answer each one of your question through emails, and these experts will be answering your questions. So for now, I would just like to conclude this webinar by just saying that yes, COVID-19 seems to be a wake-up call for all of us. We really need to adopt to the sustainable means, the greener means. We all definitely agree to this fact. The Mother Earth has the natural intrinsic ability to heal itself, and that's why this all happened. But yes, this is all temporary. This is all short-lived, and we will definitely come back to even worse condition if we do not take the action today. We really must stop, think, and act now. That is all I can say from my side. I really thank both of our expert speakers from the bottom of my heart for joining us here. Sir, we are fortunate to have both of you here, and it was such a great talk. Both of you. And lastly, I would like to thank all the participants for joining us live here. It was indeed a very great session, and would definitely will be having more of such sessions in the future. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.